Today, we're just going to start with the basics. It's the heavy session. It's a little bit of a pain, but the good news is we're going to use what we learned today, or what we refresh if you already know it today, to jump ahead to in the next two sessions and really step it up and give you hopefully great insights that you can use in the race course. Now, so the goal for today is just to understand the rules of part 2, especially sections A and B, which is the right of way and the general limitations, and the associated definitions. As I said, this is a critical piece so we can progress towards testing the limits of the rules later on. Okay. So as Brendan was saying, I'm happy for you guys to interrupt. If we can answer the question in less than 30 seconds, we'll go ahead. If not, we'll push it to the end of the session, or maybe if you need some more detailed explanation to the next session. Okay. Now, over the last few days, you've heard Toby, Ashlyn, and Jack talk about how to push the rules. They often refer to this is illegal, but everybody does it. That is great. It's important at the top level to push those limits and get that edge and that speed advantage. Most of the comments that they made were about speed, how to get that speed, but there's also the other side in terms of tactics that will get you the right position at the right time to gain the most advantage out of a potential situation. You're looking 3, 4, 5 moves ahead, arriving to a lure gate, and you need to know whether you're going to be inside and how you can position yourself to maximize that advantage. So the racing rules play a very important role in your tactics as well as in your boat speed. So we are going to explore all those things over these few sessions. Remember, at all times, this is something that doesn't often come into a question, but you need to always assess and always know what your rights are, what are the reasons for those rights, your obligations, and from that combination, you will find what are the opportunities that you can get. Whether you need to hold off because you don't have any rights or an opportunity to exploit or gain an advantage, or on the contrary, if you are positioned the right way, you can get to those opportunities and jump a few boats ahead. For example, at the windward mark. So we're going to see that. So although we are talking about the basics and we'll start soft, hopefully we'll increase the level quite rapidly, and we'll get into some situations that they are not as straightforward as you would think. So we're putting this as a medium level. I expect you to have a copy of the racing rules somewhere handy, and that you already have basic knowledge of or an understanding of the rules. So as I said before, we're going to be dealing with when boats meet, part 2, and the definitions associated with that. Now, this is a very, very short refresher of all the rules in part 2. 10, 11, 12, 13, you should all know. 10 is port starboard, 11, windward leeward, 12, clear ahead, clear astern, 13, tacking. Then we move on to the general limitations, so the limitations to the right-of-way boat. Those are 15 and 16 and 17. 15 is when a boat gains the right-of-way. 16 is when a right-of-way boat changes course. 17 is the proper course rule. Then we go into marks. We won't be touching on the marks today. We'll do next session, and we'll get into it very, very deep. But marks is about Rule 18, which is probably the longest rule in the rule book and the most complicated one to get a good grasp on. And after that, we move on to obstructions, 19 and 20, continuing obstructions, giving room to an obstruction, and 20 is room to tack. There are other rules that we won't get into except for some comments and try to deal with some issues like, for example, crabbing that was mentioned last week, etc. Under Rule 21, there's other ones about capsized boats, anchor aground and rescuing. We're not going to go into that. And the last one is 23, interfering, which in the laser class excuse me, doesn't happen often due to the size of the courses. Now, it can happen coming out of a, the lower gate, and you are on a close haul course, and some boats that have spread too wide are coming down on the downwind leg. But they get resolved pretty quickly. And then the last rule there is rule 14, avoiding contact, and this sort of catches us sailors more often than we want. So we never should forget about that rule. In the overall scheme of things, to understand how it all plays out is to answer the question, am I right of way? And to answer that question, we need to ask ourselves, are we tacking? If we are tacking, we need to keep clear under rule 13. If we are not tacking, the next question is, are we on the same tack? If the answer is no, then we are talking about a port to starboard, rule 10, straightforward enough. If the boats are in the same tack, then we need to ask the question, are we overlapped? If the answer is no, then we go into rule 12, clear ahead and clear astern. Sorry, I forgot. And if we are indeed overlapped, then we go back to rule 11, windward lure. It's pretty straightforward. There's not much to it, but we are going to start now. So anybody can tell me, when is a boat a right-of-way boat? Let me say this. All the rules in this section, section 8, are not written as right-of-way rules. They're written as obligations. Remember, know your rights, your reasons, your obligations. So rule 10 will tell us that the port tack boat has to keep clear. Rule 11 will tell us that the windward boat has to keep clear. Rule 12 will tell us that the clear astern boat has to keep clear. And rule 13 will tell us that from the moment a boat passes head to wind until it reaches a close haul course, that boat has to keep clear. So no rule says which boat is the right-of-way boat. They are written as obligations on the other boat. The answer is in the preamble. A boat has the right-of-way over another boat when the other boat is required to keep clear. Now, remember, so there is a condition for a right-of-way boat for the other boat to have to keep clear. And there's very specific case on the laser class, which we'll see at the end of today, and that'll be your homework for the next session. Okay. Now, so now we know how a boat obtains the right-of-way. A boat is right-of-way when another boat has to keep clear. Okay. So in this particular case, which boat is the right-of-way? So Brandon, if you want to push the poll, we'll give them 10 seconds to answer the question, hopefully. Okay, I think that's, I don't know, when you see that you have enough responses, just click share the results and that'll be fine. I expect everybody picked the right boat. Okay, very good. So yeah, it's there. Some people is picking the yellow as the right-of-way boat, but they are not overlapped. Blue is clear ahead, yellow is clear astern. Under rule 12, the clear astern boat shall keep clear. Okay, so yellow has to keep clear, therefore blue is the right-of-way boat. And remember the thinking, blue is the right-of-way boat because yellow has to keep clear. That's how the rule is written. We go to the next one. Which boat has the right-of-way boat? So work out first which boat has to keep clear, and then the other boat is the right-of-way boat. How are we doing?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of indecision here.
Oh.
People are changing their answers as we go, right? So here we go.
I catch them.
Share results, right? Here we go.
Okay, so a lot of people think yellow is the right-of-way boat, but so the question that you have to ask yourselves is which boat is the keep clear boat? So we have a port starboard situation. The port tack boat, yellow, is the keep clear boat. And the blue boat is the starboard tack boat. Yellow has to keep clear because that's how it says rule 10. Port tack boats shall keep clear. Therefore, blue is the right-of-way boat. Okay? Now, we move on to the next one. Which boat has the right-of-way Y? This is only a little test to gauge your level. So, remember, which boat has to keep clear? This might help. That means the boats are overlapped. So yellow is the right-of-way boat. Blue is the keep clear boat. Blue under rule 11 is the windward boat. Boats are overlapped in the same tack, on the same tack. And yellow is to leeward of blue. So windward boat has to keep clear. Leeward boat therefore is the right-of-way boat. So if you are blue, any boats on the red sun have right-of-way over you if they're overlapped and if they're ahead. Okay. Any boats on the green box will be keep clear boats unless they're ahead. Okay. This is only when they're overlapped. We go on to the next one. Which boat has the right-of-way and why? Go. How do you see that? Changing their answers? Yeah. Okay, blue again. So this is no change from the previous one. It is exactly the same answer. The boats are overlapped. Yellow is to leeward of blue. Blue is to windward. Windward boats shall keep clear. Therefore, yellow to leeward is the right-of-way boat. Again, the same applies. If it's on the red area, if you are blue and the boat is on the red area and it's overlapped, danger, you have to keep clear. If the other boat was on the windward side, then that'll be fine. Okay. Now, throughout this, you've heard me say has to keep clear, shall keep clear. So what is keeping clear? This is important. So a boat keeps clear of a right-of-way boat because when a boat keeps clear, has to keep clear, the other boat is the right-of-way boat. If that boat, the right-of-way boat, can sail her course with no need to take avoiding action. And when the boats are overlapped, if the right-of-way boat can also change course in both directions without immediately making contact. Okay, so let's look at this, for example. Do you think yellow is keeping clear? That's another question.
So do you want them to answer yes or no?
Yes or no, yeah.
Yes or no, yeah.
Is yellow keeping clear? Yes or no?
Okay, it's fairly definitive in that one.
Good. That's the way it should be, I hope. It's not. Okay, so you got that right. Blue cannot continue without having to take avoiding action. Cannot sail her course without having to take avoiding action. Fine. What about now? The same. Yes or no? Is yellow keeping clear? Yes or no?
It's fairly definitive again, so
good. Very good. I expect to know less. Now, is yellow keeping clear? I'm answering the questions. I hope I'm not getting them wrong.
Yeah, I think you've got everyone with you now, right?
Okay.
Was it-
Very good. Yes, it's keeping clear. Blue can continue to sell her cars without need to take avoiding action. Perfect. Now, is yellow keeping clear in this case? And this is different from the other one because in this case, they're overlapped. The boats are overlapped. And there's that extra condition, if you remember. If blue, which is the right-of-way boat, can alter course in both directions without immediately making contact. So what's your answer? Is yellow keeping clear? No, very good. So we're getting this thing, perfect. What about now? Is yellow keeping clear? Okay, but you see, it's creeping up. You know, most people still answer no. There's that thinking that maybe it is keeping clear. No, it's not keeping clear. If blue, there's indeed already contact in theory between the boom and the hull of blue. But in any case, if blue, which is the right-of-way boat because they're overlapped, and yellow is to windward, therefore is keep clear boat, and blue is to leeward, therefore is the right-of-way boat. If blue luffs, there'll be contact immediately. Okay. Now, so that's as far as we go with the idea of keeping clear the overlaps and who's the right-of-way boat, etc. Now we're going to get into the, and this is very important to understand this concept, the difference between being on attack and attacking. Okay, what is attack? When we look at this diagram, okay, attack is, sorry, attack, starboard port, this is a definition. A boat is on the attack, starboard port corresponding to her windward side. Okay, so the windward side in these two pairs is when the wind hits the windward side, this boat is on a starboard tack and this boat is on a port tack, okay? But now we need to look at a little bit more detail because what happens when the boats are sailing dead downwind or by the lee? And if you heard Ashley in the update, there's a lot of by the lee sailing in the laser class. So leeward and windward, a boat's leeward side is the side that is, or when seas head to wind, was away from the wind, okay? So if we take these boats, the yellow and blue, the leeward side of the blue boat is the port side, the leeward side of the starboard boat is the leeward side. However, when sailing by the lee or directly downwind, her leeward side is the side on which her mainsail lies. Okay, so in this particular case, this boat is on starboard because it's sailing dead downwind and the main is on the port side. So the wind is, in theory, as a result, on the windward side, which is the starboard side. And the opposite is for red. Red has the sail lying on the starboard side. Therefore, her windward side is port, is a port tack boat. Okay. So once we have identified the leeward side, talking about the rules, then the other side is the windward side. Okay, that's important to understand because the next question is, as we've just seen, do you think either yellow or blue are tacking? If you want to push the button there, Shane will, sorry, Brendan will just go. Is either blue or yellow tacking? Just yes or no, because they're both doing the same thing. Okay, no. And that's correct. The majority got it right. No, they're just luffing from port or starboard to head to wind. Remember what we had in the previous slide, which was a boat's leeward side is the side that is, or when she is head to wind, was away from the wind. So in this particular case, this boat, port tack boat, is luffing and is head to wind. This boat is still on a port tack, and the opposite happens for blue. Blue is on a starboard tack, luffs on a starboard tack, reaches head to wind, is not past head to wind, therefore is still head to wind and is still on a starboard tack. That leads us to the following point. A boat is only tacking once it passes, after passing head to wind, after a boat passes head to wind, she shall keep clear of other boats until she is on a close haul course. So in reality, a boat is only tacking, if this boat was tacking from starboard onto port, it's only tacking once it passes head to wind until it reaches a close haul course. Okay, and during that time, neither Rule 10, port to starboard, 11, windward leeward, or clear ahead, clear astern apply. They don't apply. And if two boats are subject to this rule at the same time, the one on the other's port side is the one that has to keep clear. Okay, this is very important to understand, because often when we talk about in the protest room, it says, well, the other boat tacked. And we need to be aware exactly when that tack starts, because it doesn't start with the luff. It begins only when you pass head to wind. Okay, so you have to choose your words carefully when you're in the protest room and when you're trying to illustrate an incident. And also because understanding this gives you some advantages when, especially when claiming mark room at a windward mark. And we'll see some examples of that next week. So here we go again. Which boat is the right-of-way boat and why? Should we pick on a volunteer? Brendan, what do you think?
Good idea. Everybody has ability to talk, so
Go on, who wants to go for this one?
will I pick on people?
You know,
okay.
If you know the names, pick on one.
Okay, pick on someone I know.
Yeah.
Dan O'Connell, who fell out of his boat this week.
I think it is yellow has the right of way. Blue has to keep clear.
Say that again.
It's yellow has the right of way. Blue has to keep clear.
And why?
Because blue is the windward boat. Yellow is on. They're both on starboard tack.
Yeah.
Blue is windward boat.
Okay. So yellow does not yet have to keep clear because it hasn't passed head to wind. So you're absolutely right. Blue is the windward boat at position 2 and is the keep clear boat. At position 2, although yellow has luffed, has not yet passed head to wind, therefore is still on the same tack and both boats are overlapped. So it's just a lure boat. Okay. So becomes or is the right of way boat. Now, next. In this particular case now, at position 3, which boat is the right of way boat and why? And Dan, since you've been so great, so accommodating, we'll go with you on this one as well.
Blue is tacking because she's gone through head to wind.
Mm-hmm.
Yellow is just at head to wind, so she's not tacking. So yellow has right of way.
Correct.
I agree.
Although blue is on a starboard tack, is still subject to rule 13. After passing head to wind, until she reaches a close haul course, she shall keep clear. Our friend yellow, all he's done is luff. He's gotten to almost head to wind, but it has not passed head to wind. Okay, so therefore, you're absolutely right. Blue is the keep clear boat, which makes yellow the right of way boat. Okay. Now, let's pick on another volunteer for this one, Dan. At position 3, which boat is the right-of-way boat?
Right, we pick somebody, Ella O'Neill.
Does the blue have right away?
Go on, what's your thinking?
I think the blue has right away.
Because?
I don't know. I'm just taking a random guess.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so no, yellow is blue is the keep clear boat, because if you remember Rule 13, the last sentence says when two boats are subject to Rule 13 at the same time and both have passed head to wind, so they are both in the process of being between passing head to have passed head to wind, but neither have reached a close hull course. They are both subject to Rule 13. Therefore, the one on the right on the port side of the other, the one in the port side of the other one is the keep clear boat. So blue is on the port side of yellow. Blue is therefore the keep clear boat, which makes yellow the right-of-way boat. You see, things can get tricky relatively quickly. Okay, so
Cxema, can I ask you there, is it at the point that your boat head to wind that then you're officially tacking, or is it when you pass head to wind?
I think it's after head to wind.
Yeah, you have to be very very clear with these things. The rules are, and there's some mistakes in the rules, but they are very deliberate. Okay, it doesn't say when you are head to wind. It says after a boat passes head to wind. Okay, after it passes head to wind, which means it's not head to wind anymore, has passed head to wind. Okay.
Okay, so the boom is going to cross.
Let's not talk about booms.
Okay,
booms
sorry,
are deceiving. From an umpire or judge point of view, a boat passes head to wind when we know it has conclusively passed from the point, you know, from the axis of the true wind. We don't look necessarily to the boom.
Okay.
We know where the wind is coming from. We know where the boat is pointing at, and we make that decision. Booms move a little bit, you know, and if you're doing a roll tack, for argument's sake, well, it's that will be filling for a little bit more, even if you pass head to wind. Okay, but yeah, in short, yes, once you pass head to wind is when it kicks in. Okay, so that was the explanation.
Yeah.
Now, because we're doing really good, we're going to talk about the second part of this one was, okay, so we now know if a boat was tacking, in other words, has passed head to wind until it reaches close hull course, is the keep clear boat. Now, what happens if the boats, in this case, the second question was, are they on the same tack? If the answer is no, we go to Rule 10. This is very easy, right? When boats are on opposite tacks, a port tack boat shall keep clear of a starboard tack boat. Okay, so which boat is right away and why? At position 3, sorry.
You want to volunteer for this one?
We're going to pick on Ella again.
Or,
Hopefully this time is less of a guesswork. No? No volunteering?
there's Emer Farrell. Would you like to have a guess?
No guesswork. You have to know.
I said the blue boat
Yes.
because it's on starboard tack.
So what makes the starboard tack boat the right away? Again, what I'm trying to impress upon you guys is a boat gets the right away because another boat is keep clear. Okay.
It's completed our tack, it's on close haul.
Exactly. So the other boat is on a starboard tack. The yellow boat is in port tack. The port tack boat shall keep clear of a starboard tack boat. So because yellow is keep clear, blue is the right-of-way boat. Okay. Okay. Now let's see what else we have. Now, Has anybody
Oh, sorry.
spotted a little issue, potential issue in this situation? The answer is right about which boat is the right way boat. So if anybody has noticed, sorry, Brendan, if you put the survey again for a yes or no answer.
Has the blue boat given enough time to the yellow boat to keep clear?
Who's that? Peter. Peter,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. We don't talk in terms of time. We talk in terms of room, which is a combination of a space and time. But you're absolutely right. The point is there. Yeah. And we are going to look into that in a few slides as well. Okay, when we go into rules 15 and 16. So we keep going. Now, what happens if the boats, the next question in our sequence, if you remember, is, are the boats overlapped? Does an overlap exist? If the answer is no, is rule 12, when the boats are on the same tack and not overlapped, a boat clear astern shall keep clear of a boat clear ahead. That is simple, okay? When they are overlapped, we go back. They have to be on the same tack and overlap. A windward boat shall keep clear of a leeward boat. Now, we've been doing this intuitively on the last few slides. That's fine, okay? So we are gonna up the ante a little bit. We are gonna see when boats are actually overlapped. So one boat is clear astern of another when her hull and equipment in the normal position are behind a line, a beam from the aftermost point of the other boat's hull and equipment in normal position. The other boat is clear ahead. So if a boat is fully behind, is clear astern, the other boat is clear ahead. They overlap when neither is clear astern, okay? However, they also overlap when a boat in between them overlaps both. We'll see one example of that. That's only one condition for this. And these terms always apply to boats on the same tack, except they can apply to boats on opposite tacks only when rule 18 applies between them or when both boats are sailing more than 90 degrees from true wind. So remember, it's not the transom, it's the aftermost point of the hull and equipment. So for the lasers, it's the rudder. And they both overlap when neither is clear astern, okay? And it does apply to boats on the same tack, except when rule 18 applies or both boats are sailing downwind. And downwind means more than 90 degrees. So it could be, you know, some risky situations could happen. Anyway, are these boats overlapped?
Yes, no.
Yes, a yes or no answer.
Okay. We have.
It should be a clear.
It's not decisive.
Oh, goodness.
You know it is. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Put me there for a second. Now, are these boats overlapped? Sorry, the previous one, it was obvious. You know, there's a line after the aftermost point, and the other boat was not clear astern, therefore they are overlapped. Are these boats overlapped? What did we say about boats? The overlaps happen to boats in the same tack, except when rule 18 applies to both or they are sailing downwind. So let's start with this one. Are these boats sailing downwind? No. Does rule 18 apply to them? There's nothing to indicate in rule 18 at the moment that applies. So the answer is no, they're not overlapped. Okay. Are these boats overlapped? Correct, because in this case, neither of them are sailing 90 degrees from the wind. Okay, they're not sailing downwind. No. And these boats overlapped? Sorry, let me go back to the previous illustration. So they are not overlapped because they are not sailing downwind. But can you see why neither of them is clear ahead or clear, sorry, neither is clear astern of the other one?
Because of the line perpendicular to the, or sorry, from the beam, if you know what I mean, from the back of the, that a beam rule in terms of the rotor blade.
Exactly. Neither of them is behind the other one. Okay.
Yeah.
It just doesn't apply just because they're not sailing downwind. Okay. So we go back to the next one where the question was, you know, are these boats now overlapped? And the answer should be a resounding
Not resounding. I'll end it, and you might need to explain it.
okay.
A sec. Yeah.
Okay. So the answer is yes. Both boats are sailing downwind, and downwind is simply more than 90 degrees, below 90 degrees from the true wind. Okay, if that's the axis, the perpendicular to the wind, these boats are both sailing downwind. Okay, so they are overlapped. They are on opposite tacks, but they are sailing downwind. So it applies. Both boats are overlapped. Now we're gonna look a little bit on an intuitive manner. Look at this one as well. So on top of all the right-of-way rules comes Rule 18. Okay, I'm not gonna focus too much on it today. We'll do proper work on Rule 18 next week. But in this particular case, the question is simply, which boat is the right-of-way boat? And you answer that question on the poll. Okay, so the answer is blue. Most of you got it right, because the boats are overlapped and yellow is to windward of blue. Therefore, yellow is keep clear boat, blue is the right-of-way boat. Now I'm gonna ask which boat is entitled to mark room, although if you know which boat is, you know, if you see that overlap, you should know straight away.
A new question. Sorry.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, it's fairly decisive.
Yeah. The important bit on this, and we'll dwell on it a little bit more next week, is the important thing to understand is, although Rule 18 might come into the equation here, the right-of-way rules always apply, always. Rule 18 doesn't eliminate them, erase them. Rule 18 just sits on top of the other ones and makes some changes or makes some allowances for the boat that is entitled to mark room. Okay. Now we're going to look at the next one, and we don't need to use the questions because it's the same example, but this is just to illustrate that green, it's overlapped with yellow because there's a boat between them that overlaps them both. So blue is the connection between green and yellow. So the right-of-way boat is green, also is the boat entitled to mark room. Okay. But if we do this to this situation, okay, yellow and blue are overlapped, green and blue are overlapped, but green and yellow are not overlapped because that blue boat is not sitting between them. It's adjacent, but not between them. Okay, that's important to understand. You literally have a boat that has to be in that gap there. Okay, that's just where we're gonna finish for now with that. We, as I said, we'll go into Rule 18 a lot more next week. Now, we are still with the overlaps. If this was a match racing situation, if someone wants to go ahead and try this one, are these boats overlapped?
Do you want to volunteer?
Yeah, as well, if someone feels up to it. So if there's one of the young match racers down there that have been practicing or not.
Is there anyone want to shout from the young match racers? I'm going to pick someone otherwise.
Okay, I'll come in here as Sean Doyle. I think they're not overlap because they're not downwind.
Okay.
They're not beyond 90 degrees downwind.
Okay. So far, so good. Let's remember what the definition says, though. The definition of clear ahead, they apply to boats on opposite tacks only when Rule 18 applies between them. So in match racing, funny enough, these boats are overlapped because Rule 18 applies. Okay.
Sorry,
So
Jim,
they're not.
Can you just remind me of what Rule 18 is again? I find it fascinating, but it's very technical. It's challenging.
It's just to illustrate that it can happen, but the boats on opposite tacks could be overlapped. Okay. Rule 18 is giving mark room, but in the case of match racing, that is changed to say that boats approaching the windward mark, are Rule 18 applies to boats on opposite tacks, therefore they are overlapped. But just because Rule 18 applies between them.
Right, that's only in match racing. Cxema.
At the moment, only match racing.
Okay.
But if you go to high speed with any high speed classes that has, for example, a gate to windward, that will apply as well. Okay. Anyway, it's just so if you're looking at the F50, the Sail GP last weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
GP, that would apply. Upwind, boats overlapped. Rule 18 applies to boats on opposite tacks. Anyway, it's just a little, as Sean said, it's just a little technical point. But remember, they are not sailing downwind. They are on opposite tacks, so they are not on the same tack. But in this particular case, Rule 18 applies between them. Therefore, they are overlapped. Okay. Now, and this is an important one. So if I was to ask you at position 1, are these boats overlapped? Probably the answer will be maybe yes, maybe no. It's hard to say. We'll just put the line and discover, well, they're not overlapped. It's clear that in position 2, these boats are now overlapped. And I'm going to ask you the question, are these in position 3? This is the important one. Are the boats overlapped in position 3? And this is a yes or no answer. And remember, the wind in all these diagrams, sorry, I haven't said it, comes from the top of the page, square top.
Yellow 3 hasn't tacked yet, right?
It has not completed a tack.
So she's still on port tack.
No, it's past head to wind.
Oh, is it? Okay, it's hard to see.
To me, it has passed to wind.
Yeah. Well, then she's tacking, so she has to keep clear.
She has to keep clear, but that's not the question. Think about it. I'm asking whether they are overlapped. They are overlapped. Indeed, they are overlapped. The fact that has to keep clear doesn't mean that these boats are not overlapped. And again, this is a very, very useful piece of information to keep in mind when you're approaching a windward mark on port tack, okay, and suddenly mark room comes into the equation. And again, we use not the same slide, but a very similar one next week. So the other question is, at position 3, who's the right-of-way boat and why? And there's no need for the question here. The right-of-way boat is blue because yellow is still subject to Rule 13, has passed head to wind, has not yet reached a close hold course, although they are overlapped. Rule 11 doesn't apply. Remember what Rule 13 says is, while a boat is subject to Rule 13, Rules 10, 11, and 12 do not apply. Okay.
Is this next week you'll look at this as where it's this 18.3 rule where
there's a little glitch. It's not with 18.3 because 18.3 takes care of this very well. When the blue boat was coming on a starboard for a few boat lengths, from outside entering the sun, But when both boats are on port and they both are passing head to wind in the sun, then is when it becomes very relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, we keep at it. Now, sorry, yeah, well, we've done this one. I don't know, I must have left it by mistake. Sorry about that. You can disregard. We've gone through the. Oh, sorry. Yes, because somebody did mention earlier. Who was it? Was there anything strange? Was it Peter talking about time? And we were talking about, and this is what we're. This is the segue into rules 15 and 16. So when a boat tacks and acquires right of way, like Blue has done, okay, then there is something that kicks into place. And these are these rules, 15 and 16, the limitations, the general limitations to the right of way boat, okay? So, sorry, let me just, I forgot to take everything else. We're gonna start the reverse order with rule 16. And this is to understand a concept. Rule 16 and 15 deal with one thing, a very important thing. And the rule of thumb, or that we use is there is no checkmate in sailing. You cannot put a boat in a position where they cannot get out, okay, where they cannot keep clear. No position should put a boat into having to do an unseaman-like maneuver, or a crash tack or a crash jibe or something like that. Okay, so there's no checkmate in sailing. You always have to give them a way out. So rule 16 is very simple. When a right-of-way boat changes course, CSAL give the other boat room to keep clear. And this is what I think it was Peter. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is where room kicks in. Okay,
Yeah,
giving room.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
So
just can't crash onto starboard and not give the port boat room.
Exactly, that's exactly the next example. So in normal conditions, if we're sailing along on overlap boats, and Blue luffs up slowly, smoothly. Slowly is a relative term, if you know what I mean. This is smooth and slow, or progressive versus fast and aggressive. But the key point is where you don't give a way out to the other boat. So in case one, for example, this luff is pretty smooth, okay? And it obviously depends on the boats, and we'll get to that now. And yellow takes too long to respond until there's contact, or yellow is no longer keeping clear. And is not keeping clear at position 4. The question is she keeping clear at position 3 even, So boats in the same tack, as we saw for the definition of keep clear, can Blue, which is the right-of-way boat, alter course in both directions without immediately make contact. It might be able to do it here, but certainly it can no longer do it here, okay? At position 4. In the case of the example number 2, this luff is a little bit more aggressive, and maybe yellow doesn't have the time to react promptly and keep clear. Maybe it does, depends on the boats as well. A laser is a lot more agile than a kill boat, and an OP beats a laser any day, because they just spin on their own axis. It's incredible. So what is room? This is the key concept tonight. We've seen what was keeping clear, when a boat can sail their course with a need to take avoiding action, and when both boats are overlapped in the same tack, when the right-of-way boat can alter course in both directions without making contact. But now we are asking the boat that is the right-of-way boat to give room to keep clear. What is room? Room is the space a boat needs in the existing conditions, including a space to comply with her obligations under the rules of Part 2 and Rule 31, while maneuvering promptly in a seaman-like way. So the existing conditions, sea state, wind conditions, current, the type of boat is important. How fast can these boats maneuver? Because there's a couple of keywords here. Promptly is important, okay? Seaman-like, it's important. So we're dealing with existing conditions. Existing conditions. What are the sea state, the wind, everything else that is going to determine whether a boat can react promptly and in a seaman-like way. The heavier the conditions, the more room a boat will need to keep clear. Okay, the lighter and with flat water, a lot more can be accomplished. With very little wind, sometimes actually we need to give more room, because remember, the second keyword after promptly is seaman-like. And seaman-like means nothing abnormal. So a boat doesn't have to do a crash tack or a crash jibe, or having to do a luff that is abnormal in a way, that puts the boat suddenly head to wind, without having been given the opportunity to just keep clear throughout. And then this piece in the middle, space to comply with her obligations under the rules of Part 2 and Rule 31. Let's go first with this example. This is the one we were looking at, number 1. So when yellow passes head to wind here at position 2 is the keep clear boat, because it's subject to Rule 13, it's tacking, and is the keep clear boat until it reaches a close haul course, which she does at position 3. Now, when it gets to position 3, that's the moment when she acquires the right of way. Yes. And at that moment, then she has to give room for blue to keep clear. Do you think yellow is giving room for 3 to keep clear, for blue to keep clear? That would be the first question. Let's see what everybody thinks. No, you're okay. No, that's very clear. Okay. And then when we look at this second example, this is where this part of comply with the obligations, the room has to include provisions for me not to break a rule with another boat or touching a mark. So when yellow passes head to wind and is subject to Rule 13, she has to keep clear. She becomes right away at position 3. At that moment, promptly, the other boat has to start to maneuver in a seaman-like way to keep clear, which she does. She starts to luff, passes head to wind into attack. But beware, because out of the actions of yellow, blue, which is doing the right thing, gets green into a position where they have to do a crash tack to try and keep clear. This is what this part in the middle, space to comply with her obligations under the rules of Part 2 means. So if when yellow acquires right of way, she has to give room to blue, and she has to give room to blue to give room to green, if that makes sense. So it's a chain, and it's very important, for example, when you're on a start line on the pin end and you start luffing the entire group of boats, just trying to make that pin. Well, it's not the boat just immediately to you that you have to be aware. It's the stack of boats that are beside that one. So you have to give an opportunity for everybody to keep clear. Okay. I hope that's clear. Now, let's see a practical example. I have it in Office. Sorry about this. I don't have it for lasers. Sorry. Yeah.
On that last one, could you not argue that yellow, sorry, it was yellow, wasn't it? Or the blue could have gone around the stern of the yellow? Because there's plenty of room, I would have thought, from at point 3 for them to go around the back. Like if they kept their current course.
Let me ask the question in a different way. Is there any rule that says that to keep clear, blue has to go behind yellow?
No.
All it requires is the maneuvers promptly in a seaman-like way. Is what blue has done seaman-like, is promptly and in a seaman-like way. Well, remember, no boat has.
I hear what you're saying, but in my mind, they're not acting in a seaman-like way going on top of green.
Well, sorry, he's required to act in a seaman-like way, okay, in relation to yellow, because that's where the keep clear relationship comes. Now, as a result of having that choice, okay, and with no other rules in between, like rule 20 or anything like that, because this is a perfect valid choice, and the onus is on yellow to give room to the other boats. I hear what you're saying, right? And if the boats were a lot closer, for example, go back to this example, let's say there's a little bit more separation. You could argue that the tacking of blue in this position here, okay, might be the only consistent maneuver, the only maneuver consistent with trying to keep clear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it's a lot harder to duck.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are some occasions where what you're saying may happen, but it's not this case.
Okay.
Because when yellow becomes right away, there's no rule that says how blue has to interact. All is required of blue is that she maneuvers promptly in a semi-like way. And this is a valid reason. So, there is a 50-50. You can duck, you can tack, and the choice is for blue to make. And then the relationship between blue and green, okay, which there is a breach of the rule in this particular case at position 5, right? The onus on this incident is not on blue. Blue has done something that is valid as when it comes to the rules, and green is suffering as a result. So the onus will be on yellow, and the penalty will go to yellow. Okay. Now there is, out of this situation, there is a meter up, a meter forward will make a big difference in for example, what you're saying. When the only possible option is one way, or if you saw that the opposite, like if I cannot move these boats, but if blue was right behind here, okay, in this space here, and the reasonable option at that point will be to duck or try to duck, you'll say that the maneuver is not consistent with trying to keep clear. But in this particular case, the jury will find there's no reason why this maneuver is not consistent with keeping clear. Because remember, he's required to keep clear from yellow, and green is then required to keep clear from blue. Okay.
So it's got nothing to do with the options that blue.
Not necessarily.
So
No.
So yellow just can't take that assumption that he could go astern.
Yeah. No.
Whatever
there's
the
nothing
maneuver was, it was taken on the time was what's.
we can look. I hadn't planned to go too detail into rule 19 and 20. But there's a few cases, and I'll make sure I put them up for if there's no time for next week, for the last day, maybe rule 19 and 20 very quickly. Okay, to give you a flavor of when the options actually get reduced. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So this is a typical, a very common scenario with OPs. With lasers, not that much, because they don't have, with the thin rudders, they don't have that great deal of maneuverability at the start when they are slow, okay? But we'll see. So in this particular case, we have a boat that tacks onto port, and as soon as it becomes the keep clear boat, because it's on port and pink is on starboard position, then pink alters course and dials down to try and close that gap and retain the space that he wants, this box here, okay, to make his proper, his trigger pull or whatever. So let's see what that looks like. Hopefully the video you can see the video well enough. So now, let's go. So this is our target boat. This is the guy that is going to tack to port. Okay, so keep an eye on 1412. Oh, sorry, guys. And here is our second star of the show appears here. Sorry, left it too long. This other guy, okay, I think it's 2662. If we look at that, we'll see what happens. 1412 is about to tag, okay? As soon as it tags, you see the tiller goes down and bears away on the other boat. There's a little bit of shouting, and this guy goes up, and the other guy goes up as well, okay? Now, the question is, would you penalize anybody? Do you think any boat has broken a rule?
Yeah, I think the starboard tack boat broke a rule.
Okay.
Seaman like.
He didn't give the port tack boat room to clear.
I hear what you're saying. Okay, but let's exactly look at this is important because this is a marginal call. Okay, I grant you that. But what illustrates is that a boat that is a right-of-way boat that is changing course and has to give room to the other boat. When it looks like no room can be given, okay, like here, yeah.
No, but there is, yeah, there's room, yeah.
The other boat starts to tag, and the right-of-way boat who alters course again to give room for the other boat to complete their tag and keep clear. Okay, we'll see a diagram in a few minutes. This video also illustrates something that Toby was talking about in I think it was the first day, if memory serves, which is the sag in the line and how a boat exploits that. So this is taken from the race committee. Okay, you can see the boats accumulating the port and the pin end, the sag of the line, and you have this guy there, which, okay. Hopefully you've seen that start line. Anyway, so you have to be aware of when that sag exists because the benefits are great. So this is the next case. It's similar in a way. Okay, yellow on port tack is crossing in front of blue, which is on a starboard tack. As the boats get closer, blue starts luffing towards yellow until blue bears away to avoid contact. Blue protests. Which boat broke a rule? Okay. There's a question there, is yellow blue or yes or no? Sorry, so you can use no if you think no boat broke a rule. Okay, so if you think yellow, that's the scenario that you don't want to see. Some people say blue broke a rule, and some people say no boat broke a rule. So the answer is no boat broke a rule because yellow is crossing. Blue, which is then and is keep clear boat because blue is yellow on port tack shall keep clear of blue, which is on a starboard tack. But the starboard tack boat, blue, is the right-of-way boat, is changing course. So it has to give room for yellow to keep clear. Now, when we get to this point, 3, there's nothing, and even a little bit, if we take between positions 2 and 3, yellow would have continued to cross in front. When we get to position 3, there's nothing yellow can do at that point. In some boats, you will argue that they can bear away hard and get by. But at this point, this boat, yellow, there's nothing yellow can do. Sorry. There's nothing yellow can do to keep clear. So the blue boat, which is the right-of-way boat, is changing course under rule 16.1 or 16 that we've seen, has to give room for the other boat to keep clear. So what we've put in here is until blue bears away to avoid contact, and blue bears away to call contact, and then, you know, puts the hands up, shouts protest and everything else. So although at position 3 yellow is no longer keeping clear, blue had an obligation to give room for yellow to keep clear, which she does by bearing away again. Okay, and that is the key. A right-of-way boat changing course can continue to change course to comply with her obligations under Rule 16 and Rule 15. We're going to see a practical example, hopefully, of this one from the AC, from the America's Cup. I know it's not laser, sorry guys. Now, so probably you remember this incident. I can't remember what race it was, but we have clear ahead, Ineos UK, astern, Prada. Now, I'm going to stop it there, and we're going to go hand by hand. At this position, there's no Rule 13 in the America's Cup, so this boat now has become port boat, keep clear, okay? And if it continues on that course, it crosses in front. And we see how Luna Rosa starts altering course, altering course, altering course. At this point, Ineos is still crossing ahead. Altering course, and at this point, when Ineos is still crossing ahead, Luna Rosa does the bear away. Okay. So why wouldn't you penalize Luna Rosa for getting Ineos in a situation why she can no longer clear? Because by altering course again, she complies with her obligation of giving room. Okay, this is what is called a Hollywood move. Okay, a big show. You love, then bear away hard, put your hands up, protest, and see what happens. See if they can stick it to the jury. Okay, that's as simple as that. Now, we keep going. The same can happen. We looked at Rule 15. We've done this, but I'm interested on sorry, yeah. Here is sorry, I should have put this one. No, we are still in Rule 16. So now this is the protection against the slam dunk. If I can do this. So we know that when a right-of-way boat changes course, she shall give the other boat room to keep clear. Yes, we've done that. Now, look at position 2. That's when blue is gonna attack on top of yellow. Yellow lofts up in trying to prevent blue from completing the attack or getting blue into a position that is so compromised that she needs to loft up again as the keep clear boat loses speed, in which case yellow will just get an exit. So the question here is, at position 2, when yellow at position 2, why for this protection to work out, we know that the right-of-way boat altering course has to give room for the other boat to keep clear. But the rule doesn't say that the keep clear boat cannot change course and has to give room. So the exploitation of this situation is, you know, yellow powers up when it's crossing astern of blue, because she is still the keep clear boat, yellow is the keep clear boat, and blue is the right-of-way boat because has not yet passed head to wind. This loft will get yellow to close the gauge to the blue boat. And you have to do this by powering up the boat, and then depending on the conditions, hopefully with flat water, you knife the boat, you gain to windward, and you get to that position. The key here is that you need to do this love before the other boat passes head to win. Because once this boat passes head to win, blue becomes the keep clear boat, and then you become the right-of-way boat. If you become the right-of-way boat and you love, then you have to give room for the other boat to keep clear. But because the love starts before blue becomes the right-of-way boat, she can do that because there's no obligation on her to give room to the right-of-way boat. Only that obligation in yellow only will start, let's say for position 3. So it loves between 1 and 2, maintains the love steady course, and once blue either completes the tag, they're too close, she needs to love up, you power up and your exit, and you're just ahead. And by the time 4 recovers, it'll be to windward in not necessarily fully behind you, but in a position where she won't be able to leave. Okay. Now, but again, the key moment is here. This love by 2 has to be, by yellow, has to be before blue passes head to win. Now, let's talk briefly about rule 15. We've looked at, sorry, I know what the problem was. I put this, so we've seen this, right? But there's an exception to there's an exception in this rule, acquiring right of way. So when a boat acquires right of way, she shall initially give the other boat room to keep clear. Same as concept as with rule 16. The right of way boat changing core has to give room for the other boat to keep clear, unless she acquires right of way because of the other boat's actions, and that's what we want to look at now. Sorry about this. So what are those instances when the other boat gives away the right of way? Okay, so number 1, and this happens in the pre-start line, not necessarily in the laces so much, but it can happen. It can happen on the exit between, if there's an offset mark between the offset marks. It could happen between marks 1 and 2 if you're going to the outer loop. That sort of thing is because a boat that is starting to go high suddenly goes down, bears away, creates the overlap. That overlap is created because of yellow's actions. So blue becomes the right-of-way boat because of yellow's actions. So it's all on yellow. Blue does not have to give yellow room to keep clear. Other situations, if we look at number 2, if you have 2 boats sailing and blue is on a starboard tack and yellow, which was on a starboard tack as well, probably even ahead, tacks and puts herself in a poor tack situation where she has to keep clear. Now, in this particular case, blue has to do nothing except avoiding contact. Let's not forget that we have to avoid contact at all times. And the last situation will be when 2 boats, 1 clear ahead, number 1, yellow right-of-way boat because blue is clear astern, keep clear astern, therefore is keep clear boat. Yellow, who is clear ahead, suddenly jibes onto port. Blue has to do nothing to give them room. He can continue to go, he can, and it's all on yellow to get away from that situation. Okay. Now, there's this video, I think is these 2 boats, 29 and these guys with the red life jackets. And that, hoping this one will illustrate is that idea of when a boat gives up the right-of-way boat, or a boat gains a right-of-way boat because of the other boat's actions. We're looking at 27 and 29, okay? Okay. Now, so hopefully you've been able to see that at this point, the two boats behind, the one with the blue jeep and the one with the white jeep, they are overlapped. Windward boat, white jeep keeps clear. Blue is the right-of-way boat. As the action develops, 29, which is the white jeep, bears away hard. And at this moment, boats may still be overlapped, maybe not, it's marginal. But in which case, blue is still the right-of-way boat because this boat will be clear astern. This boat will be clear ahead. And blue bears away, and by bearing away, even partially, creates a situation where the guys with the white jeep become the right-of-way boat. So in this particular case, the guy with the white jeep has to do nothing. It's all on blue to get out of the way. Now, blue doesn't do enough. There is some marginal contact. And what blue does straight after that, it goes into a penalty turn. Okay, so that's why the hook in team racing and other disciplines is very important, but illustrates how a boat loses the right of way, puts herself in a situation where she cannot keep clear even through her own actions, and therefore she will get a penalty. Okay, that's just an example.
Cxema, yeah, no, I'm conscious that we're about 20 minutes over, and we have 2 more sessions. So is it now a good time to
I have just the homework for them to do.
Okay, grand, go for it then. Yeah.
And then that's it. And I'm hoping that this is the longest one of the sessions. Okay, so
that's great. It's this was the beginner session, but I think this has turned into the advanced.
But you can see how it's starting to get harder and harder all the time. So the foundation blocks, what we've been looking at, rights are given through the obligations of other boats. Okay, so you become right of way when another boat has to keep clear. So you always have to assess and always know what are your rights, your obligations, and therefore the opportunities will come. Even when we have rights, we have limitations. There's no checkmate in sailing. Okay, you have to give a way out. Definitions of keep clear, room, and overlap are key to understand our obligations and our rights. And as I said, opportunities will arise as combination of those. Now, this is your homework. You can take a screenshot if you want. I expect tons of answers about this. This is a typical laser situation, okay? So if you are the jury or umpire at this event, who would you penalize and why? Remember, you need to figure out who is the keep clear boat and who's the right-of-way boat, okay? And it's not as straightforward, hopefully. Yeah, as we said, the next sessions are mark groundings, basic lure, mark skates, and windward mark. And the session 3 will look at rule. I've changed it a little bit. Rule 42, what are we looking for, and the umpire judge positioning, because I think it'll be interesting for you guys to see how we see it from our point of view, rather than explain to you what the technique has to be or not, or we'll explore that. And then we'll give you some tips and tricks around protests to maximize your chances, or of getting the full benefit of the process. I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions in between, please feel free to email me. Happy to do that.
Thanks very much, Cxema. I just want to say on behalf of the Irish Laser Association, and that was a brilliant session, thank you. And I agree with some of the chats there. It was great having the live polls. Very interesting that there was no unanimous decisions by the audience on any of them. So plenty of food for thought there for the next session. And we'll try and get the homework done.